Hi, and welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating podcast. My name is Kristen Jones, and thank you so much for joining me this week. So, I am one of those people that I like to, I plan what we're going to talk about on the podcast, but when something comes up that just is so inspiring to me and motivates me, and also is so exciting, and that I was not expecting to get this message that I got on Sunday, and it just motivated me so much to want to bring on a guest and have her share what happened. So today's podcast is going to be about how big is your why? And when I say your why, I mean your why for why do you want to manage emotional eating? Why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to change your life and make it different? What is it behind it? Because if you don't have a really strong why that is going to get your rear end up out of bed to exercise, to go for a walk, to plan your meals, to do batch cooking on the weekends, to whatever it is, do your journaling. If you don't have a why that really, really motivates you, then you're just when things get tough, your brain is gonna tell you it's not worth it. And you're gonna go, yeah, you're right. And staying in bed is so much better. And just going to fast food and going through the drive-through, so much easier, so much better. And it's really not that big a deal. I really don't care right now in this moment. And so we have to have whys. And I always recommend that people have multiple whys. And so I decided that I would bring on Julie, who is a frequent visitor and guest on the podcast because she's so amazing. And so I decided to ask her to come on the podcast and share what happened this last weekend and talk a little bit more about her why, the why that she has, what has been motivating her to continue on with her weight loss journey. And so and she really reached and kind of accomplished a huge milestone and a huge part of her why this last weekend. So wanted her to share that and hopefully just share and show some inspiration for other people and for people to really think about what it is that's really driving you to do this and to really look at and look deep into why this is important to you. So Julie, welcome to the podcast. Super happy you're here.
Thank you.
Can you
Thank you.
remind everybody, because it will be relevant, can you remind everybody where you are from?
Alabama, Decatur, Alabama.
Decatur, Alabama. Okay. This will become relevant, y'all. Just give us time because there's some travel involved in this. So so let's start off first with what has been what were your when you started with me, what was your why for why you were here, why you wanted to address your emotional eating, why you wanted to lose weight? What was your why? And I'm not even sure if the why that you have now is the one that you had back then, but
No.
what was, and then you kind of tell the story of that why and then how it morphed into the why that you currently were driving towards.
When I first started, I really had just week wise. I didn't really. I just needed to lose weight. I just knew
Hmm.
I needed to lose weight, and I didn't have specific whys other than I just needed to lose weight.
Hmm.
So I wanted to feel better
Hmm.
and look better, and but not strong whys. It's not something that I dwelled on. Uh,
Hmm.
um, I kept hearing how important they were, but I, just um, kind of was like, well, whatever. I just need to lose weight. I mean, I need to lose weight. That's why I'm here.
Right. And you have shared on the previous podcast that the thought work and doing like the brain stuff was challenging
Very
for you.
hard.
It was very hard for you. And it took a while for you to start even realizing that you had thoughts and that you were able to
Yeah.
pay attention to them. So it totally makes sense. So when did the whole why piece start to, do you remember when that started to kick in or when that was started to be relevant, or you made the decision about this new why that you wanted to have?
I'm probably about 8 months ago
Hmm.
or maybe a little more. Um, I don't know. It was doing some of the coursework or it was a podcast. It was something. And I was like, wait a minute. And we started writing, um, excuse me, affirmations
Hmm.
and specific whys. And then I was like, you've got to have something that
Mhm.
And another day you may not could care less about that. And
Right.
you need many very specific whys that are important.
Mhm.
So I made a list of probably 5 and
I
I
think it was
put
when
them,
we were working together. I think it was when
yeah,
you and
it
I were
was.
working together. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, okay,
So
that makes
that's when
sense.
it was. Yeah.
Mhm,
And I made that list and put them on my phone. So every time I
mhm,
turned my phone on, that I would see that list
mhm,
of whys
mhm,
and just started drilling it in my head.
right,
And then the affirmations, I've got them on the other screen. So,
mhm,
but I don't know, it just came clear that no, you really do need a specific why that's going to drive you to want to do this,
mhm,
something that you really want to do or accomplish, or
right, right.
not just a vague, you need to lose weight.
Right, right. So, would you mind sharing with the with the listeners and the people on Facebook, what was your really, you had a really strong why? What was that why? What was that
So
strong why?
my number one top why was I want to go to Six Flags.
And why was that important to you?
Um, because I love amusement parks. I
Hmm.
love them. When I go by, if I just go by them on the road, I'm like breaking my neck to look at the rides. If a fair comes to town, I want to go and just walk through. And I think about being able to get on those rides and ride them.
Right.
I mean, I love them,
Hmm.
you know,
How long had it been since you had been able to go to an amusement park?
31 years,
Okay, so that's pretty
31
significant.
years. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because the last time I went, the seats were tight when I
Hmm.
went, and I never went back.
Right, right. And so when you made that decision that you wanted to go, and I know that we had talked about that, and we had talked about whether or not, like, what were some of the conditions that you felt like you, and because you had no idea
Yeah.
where you needed to be weight wise, where you needed to be size wise in
Nice.
order to be able to go. And we had just talked about it a couple weeks ago on a
Mhm.
call, and you had brought it up.
Yeah.
So what was the thought process that led you to this last weekend?
Well, um, I've just been thinking about it and thinking about it, and I bought a season pass to Six Flags about 2 months ago.
Y'all, that is some serious, like that to me, like
Yeah,
that's it, right? I didn't know that. That to
yeah,
me, like you already set this, like you
I
put it
did.
out there, this is gonna happen. And so you went ahead and you bet on yourself and said, we're gonna do this.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna go ahead and buy it. That is, I didn't know that. That gives me chills.
yeah,
That's amazing. Okay, so you bought the
yeah,
season pass, you had it
yeah.
2 months ago. Okay.
2 months ago. Yep. And I don't know. Things have been going. I haven't really lost much weight in the last 2 months. I have lost inches. I feel like
Hmm.
my clothes are fitting different.
And you're working out.
And I'm
As
working out.
mhm.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just got to the point where I was like, my friend wants to go with me, and I wanted to go by myself the first time.
Mhm.
So I was like, I got to get this done. I kind of had a deadline because I thought he's going to start asking,
Mhm. Now
and I
is this
wanted
Eric? Is this Eric that you hike
Eric.
with? Okay.
Yes, it's Eric that I hike with. So I was like, okay, I'm going Saturday. Well, they had storms. So I had it all set to go Sunday. And we got up and it was a 90% chance of rain. I'm like, are you kidding me? So my husband was just like, he said, it looks like it's staying right below where you're going to be. He said, just get in the car and go. Cause I was coming up with every excuse. I had these horror thoughts going through my head about when I got on the rides and the workers coming and like taking their feet, trying to shove the thing shut. And,
Mhm. Yeah,
you know,
so you had created all of this kind of this drama in your
oh,
head of
yes.
what you thought was going to happen. And that was the reason, and I remember we had talked about, that was the reason why you wanted to go alone,
Yes.
because you were apprehensive of like, if I get there, what's going to happen if something happens? I don't want anybody, you didn't want a lot of people there, but you didn't want anybody.
Me and a
to
bunch of strangers.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yes, I had it worked up real well in my head about how they were going to be trying to shove me in those seats.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, just get in the car and go. If you get over there and it's raining, 3 hours away, he said,
3 hours, y'all.
Just-
3.
3 hours. He said, just what's the worst thing? Just turn around and come home. You've had a nice ride. I like to get in the car and drive and listen to music. He said, just do it. Just go. He said, we've been camping and it said it was going to be raining like that and it wouldn't rain a drop.
Mm-hmm.
So I got in the car.
Her husband's pretty amazing.
He is very amazing.
He's super supportive. I mean, just
he's like
unbelievable.
Watching the weather for me all the way over there. He was watching the weather for me while I was there, keeping an eye. But I got over there and I just went in and I thought, first thing I did, I go up to this one guy that works there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, which one of these rides, accommodates larger framed people? And he's like, oh, he said, this one does. And I was like, okay, well, I'll try this. And then, so I got to talking to him and he was really nice. And I told him how much I weighed and he said, oh, girl, you're fine. So I thought, yeah, whatever. There were rides that I was like specifically had in my head that I knew I would not be able to fit on.
Mm-hmm.
I had
that you had made that up. You had thought that that was going to be true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So I got on his ride and no problems whatsoever. And the little belt was hanging. I was like, holy moly, So anyway, I get off it and I thought, I'm just going to go from one to the next. And I went from one to the next and I did not have any problems. Nobody had to mash me into a seat or
nobody had to use their feet to shove you in.
Nobody had to use their feet. I just shut it myself. It wasn't even like on the, it wasn't even like I could barely get it shut. I just shut it.
Right. Yeah.
So it was just amazing. It was just amazing. The one I really wanted to ride was this Superman roller coaster, and you hang down below the track and it makes your seat so it looks like you're flying.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's the one I was like, I know I'm not ever going to be able to ride that because there's so many restraints.
Mm-hmm.
No issues. No issues.
Oh, that's so fun. That is so
just
fun.
Amazing.
So how and you were there by yourself and you just went from ride to ride, had a great time. And I mean, the first thing when I didn't know until Julie and I talked right before recording that there was a potential for rain, I said, oh my gosh, that's perfect. Because nobody would have, I mean, the park would have been relatively empty just because people would have been afraid to go in. So you just got to like hop from ride to ride.
I did.
No lines. Oh.
Yeah, it was just great. I mean, it was just the perfect day. I got maybe 30 minutes worth of a little bit of rain. I got a poncho on and I just kept going. I don't know. It was raining when I got on the biggest roller coaster that was there. It was raining. They were still running it. It wasn't lightning or anything. Like, just do it.
Oh, that is so. And so for you, what was the feeling? I mean, what was I could only imagine that you must have been like floating through the park. Like you were so, I just be so happy and just so proud of yourself for doing that.
I even quit. Some of the rides have seats out front that you can try to see if you get, I quit getting in them. I just started going and getting in the line to the ride. I was like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So, I didn't even do the little trial seats.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this, like I said, it's probably been 8 or 9 months that we've been talking about. The Six Flags has been, that has been the thing. And I think more than anything else, the thing that was so touching to me, and we had just talked about this in a previous, probably a call last week. We talked about Six Flags, and that you just put your fear aside and just decided that like, I'm just going to do this, and whatever happens is going to happen. And that's, I mean, that's the way I think I would want everybody. I want to live my life. I mean, you're an inspiration to you're an inspiration to me, to so many people, because you just you just decided that like you were going to make it work and it was going to work no matter what. And if you had to figure out something else, you'd figure out something else, but you're just
I'm
going
going
to
to
do
tell
it.
you, my husband, my sweet husband, he said, what is the worst thing that can happen? He said, if you get over there and can't ride a single ride, you have still lost 90 pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
He said, who
Exactly.
cares?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, he said, if you get over there and you can't ride a single one, you've still lost 90 pounds and you can go back again.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know how to do what you're doing, just keep
Mhm.
doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I just went and did it.
Oh, that is just, it's so amazing. It was so cool. So y'all, I don't know what I was doing. It was the middle, it was the early, Julie and I are 2 hours apart from each other. And so
Yeah.
I don't know what I think it was like the middle of the afternoon for me. And I get, I get this message, I'm just leaving Six Flags. And I'm like, what? I'm like, wait a minute, hold on a second. I'm like, I wrote back to her and I was like, wait, explain to me what's going on. And I rode every single ride. So it was just, I mean, it was so, I was so excited. I was so happy for you. And again, just felt like it was such a great, it's such a great accomplishment. So for you now, what is now that I mean, this is a huge milestone for you. This
Yeah.
is a huge thing
Huge.
to reach and to overcome. And so what do you think, like, have you thought about what your next thing is that you want, that you kind of are looking towards as being your why? Because and how much more weight do you want to lose?
I still need to lose at least, I would say like 40 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, you know, I've got a ways to go still, but
Mm-hmm.
I was talking actually on one of our meetings, not feeling the difference in my body.
That's right. We talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped me feel the difference in my body.
Right.
You
Right.
know, that was significant. So, you know, it's like now I know, now I can feel the difference because, so that helped in that. And my next why, I want to go whitewater rafting. And
Ooh.
yeah, so, and that's a biggie on my list too.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be hitting every amusement park that I come near from now, from now on. So
Are there other ones in your area?
well, there's one that's like 4 hours away. So
Oh, okay.
this one was 3. So there's one in Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge that's about 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I could make an overnight trip. I could just go
Sure.
spend the night, get up, do the thing, and come home. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Now, does Matt not like roller coasters?
oh no, no.
Sorry,
He
Matt, we're
was,
giving you away.
yeah, he was a welder, and he's like, yeah, there's no way you're getting me on those.
Well, I'm actually
So,
surprised that he lets you go then.
yeah, he's like, I don't think you could stop me. It
Right.
is just one of those things.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I love it.
Oh, that's
And
so
to be
fun.
able to finally do that is
Mhm.
just been worth the 2 years that I've worked to do this.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, that's
so
so amazing. That's so
yes.
wonderful. So what would you say to anyone who is kind of, because again, we went through a process of talking about your why, kind of trying to figure out and trying to nail down the whys, because you had hit a plateau and that
Yeah.
we were trying to break through that. And so it was the affirmations and that why, the why work that you did. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who's kind of in that kind of like, don't really know, or it's just about weight and that's, you realize that really wasn't enough, that the weight
Mm-mm.
loss was just not enough. What would you suggest somebody do to try and like dig out and figure out what their why is?
I mean, take it serious for one thing, and just sit down and think about what is it that I would love to do,
Mm-hmm.
or even, you know, I want to be here for my nephew.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to when he wants me to go outside and play basketball with him or play baseball with him, I want to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
take it serious. Talk to you, understand what kind of why it is that you're really looking for, you
Mhm.
know, it's deep down
Right.
desire
Yeah.
why,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
And
know.
a lot of times and it, as was in your case, it was something that your weight was holding you back from doing
Yes.
something that you really, and sometimes I think people just kind of like push those things aside, like they almost bury them, like that's never going to happen for me. I'm never going to be able to do that. So I might as well just forget about it.
For
And
30 years.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing to be able to dig that out, and then to even have the courage to be able to say, like, this is something I want to do, but but I'm afraid it might not ever happen. And that's, and I
Mhm.
think, and it is really, I think there's a huge, there's a huge release, and there's a huge thing of putting it out there, same way as you buying the ticket. It's like you have to
Yeah.
put it out there that, like, okay, I believe in myself enough that, and I think that's part of, I think that's a huge part of this, of any kind of journey when you're trying to reach a goal, is you have to actually believe that you can do it, and that you,
Yeah.
and then I know in the beginning sometimes it's really hard to believe, because when you haven't
It
seen any proof,
is.
it's super hard. um
Well, another thing that's so amazing is the plateaus that I've had.
Mhm.
I have learned, and I do believe now that I can maintain weight loss. And
Mhm.
I did not believe that
Yep.
before,
Yep.
but
Mhm.
I maintained, even with health issues or whatever, for 6 months, I didn't lose any weight, but I
Right.
maintained.
Right. Right.
And before, if you would have, that was a big thing for me. I did not believe that I could keep weight off.
Right. Right. Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I think that's pretty common. If you're in the Facebook group, or you're on my personal profile, if you are somebody who thinks that you can't maintain your weight, and that you're afraid of, like, losing it because you're just going to gain it back,
yeah,
just write maintain in the comments, if that's kind of like an underlying, like, oh, I don't know if that's even something I could even do, and that may be holding you back. And those are things that you and I talked about, is those subconscious,
oh yeah,
those really deep feelings of, like, why am I not losing any weight, why am I holding myself back? And oftentimes it's because people have that fear of, like, well, I'm just going to gain it back, so why would I even go through the process?
yeah, because that's what's always happened,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that's why you got to do the mental work,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm. Yeah, yeah, because otherwise it's just, you're gonna be on that same cycle, and you're gonna believe that that's what's
right.
inevitably gonna happen. And if you believe it'll inevitably happen, it probably
It
will.
will.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, well,
yeah.
I see, and y'all, I didn't even know most of this story, so I'm super excited. This was so fun. This was so cool. So what do you think so you got the whitewater rafting,
Yeah.
and we had talked about, because you kind of have had yeah, I wouldn't say it's a plateau, but you've been have, like, a lot of stuff going on, you have a lot of work
Yeah.
stuff happening. But one of the things that I had suggested, or I had said to you on Sunday, was like, do you think that doing this is going to encourage you, or kind of foster you to be able to, like, kind of because every time you've had a plateau, something has happened to then, like, it was the affirmations before, it was doing this why work
Mhm.
in the affirmations, and that's what then started you losing weight again.
Yeah,
Do you think that this will start things moving?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I'm gonna hit that 100 pounds. I think. I just know I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I really do. It's motivated me again that I can have big goals and I can reach them.
Hmm.
And that, that was the biggest goal. So
Right. Right.
I can do
Yeah.
it. So
Oh, that is so, so wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and to share your story. And I know that you have inspired and motivated, and if you're watching on the Facebook group, if you wouldn't mind just throwing in a comment of if Julie was inspiring, because I know she's inspired me to think about more about my whys and the things that I have going on, and not being afraid to put yourself out. And that's the thing that just blows me away, is that you put yourself out there, drive 3 hours by yourself to a completely unknown that you
Yeah.
didn't know how this was going to turn out. And you just had faith that like, okay, this is going to work. We're just going to figure
Yeah.
it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just love what, I love what Matt said. And you had a really nice ride.
Had a really nice ride. It's okay.
Well, he must have been, I mean, I'm sure you must have been like calling him the whole time, like, oh, my God, I've got another ride.
I locked my phone in the locker. I couldn't call him, but that's why he was like, I was just keeping track with you. He said, I was watching the weather the whole time you were
So
there. And,
good.
so
That's
he's
awesome.
he's a good guy.
He's a very good guy. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much again. Thank you so much for doing this and
Sure.
sharing your story. And if anyone, if you're listening to the podcast and you have any sort of questions about how Julie got herself to this place, Julie has been a member, has worked with me for about the last 2 years, and first in the what was it, the Breakthrough Emotional Eating Boot Camp. It was we did a boot camp together, and then Julie joined the membership and has been in the membership, and again is just is such an inspiration. So if you have questions, if you're wondering like, how can I get in on that, we will put the information about the Breakthrough membership in the show notes. You absolutely can check those out, as well as on YouTube. I always have this video up as well. So I have a video up with this recording as well. So you can find information there. You can always reach out to me, go to my website. We'll put that information in the show notes as well. So if you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate. And you too may be riding roller coasters at Six Flags very soon.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
All right. All right, Julie, thank you so much. And everybody, thank you so much for listening. And we will see you all next week. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.